Alrighty, so little news of the week episode on this Thursday afternoon as we are now in the midst of the international break. So MLS has officially released the 22 under 22. So this is a list where MLS decided to do a rankings out of the 22 players that are among the best player that is currently under 22. And I always like this list because whenever I do the moving forward series talk about all of these teams, I use this list as a big point in terms of looking at young players that I can put in terms of the revelation and also young player to watch in the future. But this year's list, in terms of the top five, we got David Martinez being number five, Owen Wolf being number four, Idan Tuklamani being number three, Alex Freeman being number two, and then at number one is Ober Vargas, who I believe last year he was also near the top five as well, but he has extended into the first position. And when you look at this list, I mean, all these players, no surprise that they, of course, belong on that list. I would argue that maybe David Martinez is put a little bit too high. No doubt that he definitely has the skill to show, especially with his flair that he's shown at times with LAFC. But I feel like he's a little bit too high compared to the all of these other guys in the top five that really made a big impact to the team. I mean, Owen Wolf, one of the main staple for that Austin team in the midfield. Idan Tuklamadi, we already talked about how much he has single-handedly replaced the Patrick Ajiman and probably even being better than what Ajiman has done when it comes to the goal scoring department. Alex Freeman, obviously, we know his potential not only with Orlando City, but he's definitely have national team material written all over it. He was with the national team during the Gold Cup and performed relatively well. And then of course Ober Vargas, we all already knew about him. His career continued to get better and better as the year goes along, and I won't be surprised in a couple of years. I think Seattle is probably gonna get a huge sum of money for him, and there's gonna be a huge offer from Europe or South America or even down in Mexico as well of potentially getting him away. Now, looking at some of the other news that happened this week. So there's a report suggesting that Tata Martino is looking to replace Steve Chernow as the head coach of LAFC next season. Now, this is a bit of a conflicted report. Tom Bogert, the one of the more reliable reporter and sources in MLS News, said that this is actually not entirely true and that LAFC is nowhere near in terms of trying to sign Tata Martino as a replacement. And it's kind of interesting that, it feels like we're starting to get into the age where there's kind of a bit of a recycling kind of matter where we see some coaches being fired for one team and now they're joining another one. And it feels like Tata Martino is kind of bouncing around the leagues a couple of times, first with Atlanta, then with Inter Miami, and now it seems like he's going to be going to LAFC. But it'll be very interesting to see who, of course, will replace Steve Chernow in terms of that spot. And say what you say about Steve Chernow, I think he has done a pretty good job for the most part with LAFC. Yes, I know that LAFC fans feel like they should be a little bit better in terms of them still winning more trophies than the talent that they of course had. And I mentioned before that this is an LAFC team that, barring a couple of finals that they haven't really live up in terms of the potential of this team has in terms of winning more trophies than they should win this year. I mean, barring remember the two trophies that they won. If it wasn't for Gareth Bell scoring that late equalizer in MLS Cup, I mean, they would have lost that one. And then, of course, in the U.S. Open Cup, they play against this SKC side that, well, let's just say that they were not a good team, whatsoever. So again, there are definitely some naysayers in terms of it, but for the most part, he has consistently get this team to be a competitive team, and this is going to be another team that, as we head into the playoffs, now winning six in a row following the win that they had against Toronto FC on Wednesday. This is a team that, yeah, this is kind of bad news for the rest of the Western Conference that LAFC is now getting hot at the right time, and I won't be surprised. They might be the team to beat. I mean, when you look at the West right now, there's a lot of question about every single team, but I think hands down right now, LAFC is probably head and shoulder better than anybody else. I mean, if the playoffs started right now, I wouldn't be surprised if LAFC somehow were able to beat everybody to make it to MLS Cup. That's how good they have been when it comes to their attack, and also both Bawanga and Song. Yeah, that dynamic duo, it is deadly right now for this LAFC side. Now, Orlando City is report to link to sign Tottenham forward Richarlison on in next summer. Now, anytime when they mention that they're going to make a signing in next summer, I don't care what kind of profile it is. I always take that as a grain of salt, and the fact that I don't think that's entirely true, and especially in this article they said that Orlando is looking to get Richarlison for $46 million. Not only that would break the MLS transfer record, but that would not even been close when it comes to breaking the MLS transfer record. That is just an incredibly expensive money. And for Richarlison, he's been having a very interesting career. I mean, he's started his career in Everton, did relatively well. Joined Tottenham, and it's been kind of up and down doing his time with Tottenham right now. And I don't know if he especially with the way that he's only 28 years old, he's still in the prime of his career as well. I don't. It's kind of a weird move for him to decide to make it the jump to MLS straight away. But again, we'll see how this is going to go. And that again, anytime when there's a move, like we're not even done with the MLS regular season. The fact that we're already talking about moves happening next summer, that's a little bit far fetched, and this is why again a lot of fans and even Orlando City fans are kind of skeptical of the fact that yeah, this would be surprising to happen, especially the fact that this is not even happening this winter transfer window. This potentially could happen in the next summer transfer window when the World Cup does happen. Now, a Tottenham player that is also potentially coming to MLS, because recently we have had a one or two Tottenham player that have come to MLS as well. I mean, we just saw probably one of their better player coming from Tottenham, and Sung Heung Min just came to LAFC. So I guess maybe now the league is trying to rate Tottenham in terms of signing all those players. But yeah, another player from Tottenham that looks like is going to come to MLS is Sergio Reguilon. Now, this, of course, happened because, as I'll mention in just a bit, it looks like Jordi Alba is going to be joining Luis Suarez and Sergio Busquets in the retirement bus. And this can also be interesting to see how that's going to impact Lionel Messi in terms of his decision, in terms of signing a new contract. There is still no word in terms of whether or not if he does sign this new contract, though, I think there is in his contract, he does an option to 2026 as well. And there's also numerous reports the fact that it looks like he is going to sign that contract, and it seems like he could. There was even one report saying that he could stay with Inter Miami as long as 2028. But there's no doubt that Inter Miami has kind of started to think about maybe replacing some of these Barcelona boys, and Sergio Reguilon is definitely one of those guy, and probably a pretty good replacement in terms of it. I mean, they already did it with Rodrigo de Paul in the midfield. He's probably going to be a guy that's going to replace Busquets in that spot, and Reguilon, perfect replacement for Jordi Alba. And if they are going to sign him, it's probably going to be for a hefty amount, because Reguilon, just like Richarlison, are kind of still in the prime of their career. Very interested to see that he decided to make this move so early in his career. But I guess when you get to play against your friend, and again, this is Inter Miami. When it comes to the the signing, it's always just signing of Messi and his friends, and especially with his Argentine buddies. And this is another example of it. Do not be surprised we're going to see more Argentine player that potentially going to come to Inter Miami, because that's kind of what it's been. That's what happened when you have the GOAT himself currently playing for the team. Now, player of the week was won by Sebastian Berhalter. Well, he deserved. I mean, he was an absolute menace during his time against the San Jose Earthquakes, and he's going to be a big, big part in terms of the Whitecaps potentially could go deep into the playoffs. Like when you look at this Whitecaps team, they have all kinds of weapons on the team, but the question is, can they get themselves past the dreaded first round? And then most importantly, when they do face against LAFC, I think of all the teams that potentially will have to face against LAFC, who seems like they are the favorites of winning the West, and also representing the West out of MLS Cup. If there's one team that I can definitely think that could stop LAFC, it's got to be the Vancouver Whitecaps. The Whitecaps have shown before that they can slow down LAFC, and there is no doubt that I think the Whitecaps will have a ton of motivation. The fact that LAFC is kind of like their ultimate boogeyman when it comes to the playoffs. They've been knocked out in the playoffs by that team for the past two seasons. We also saw in the CONCACAF Champions Cup as well not long ago. So no doubt that with the Whitecaps being this is probably the best season that they've ever had, and probably the most talented team that they've ever had. They would feel like they have the talent, and they definitely have the motivation to really kind of knock down their ultimate boogeyman. And we've seen before this season when it comes to narrative, all narrative and all past form where an ownage, of course, on a team is going to come to an end, unless of course you're the Union or DC. That seems like it's still kind of a thing right now. But we've seen a lot of ownage from one MLS team to the other kind of came to an end, and there's no doubt that I think if you're LAFC, I know you're not afraid of everyone, but if there is one team that I think they'll probably would definitely not want to face throughout the playoffs, it's got to be the Vancouver Whitecaps. I think that is probably the most dangerous team that I would say right now that they don't want to face. Now, moving on to talk about retirement. So we had a couple of players announce their retirement. I've already mentioned Jordi Alba joining some of his former Barcelona buddies in retirement with Luis Suarez and Busquets going announce his retirement. But another big announcement of retirement that was huge in MLS, and there's no doubt I'm gonna do a career video about this. I know it's been a while since I've done a career video, but I'll definitely do a career video about Darlington Nagbe, one of the great. This number 6 in the league. Definitely, when you look at the Mount Rushmore of MLS, I think he could definitely be on that list, especially in that number 6 position. I mean, he has had an incredible career, and I don't think we have ever seen a player having this incredible career as what we've seen throughout his entire time in MLS. I mean, sure, we have seen some great MLS players in the past, but sometimes they play overseas for a bit. Darlington Nagbe has been staying in MLS for his entire career, and the fact that only he have won 4 MLS Cup, but he has done it with 3 other team as well, both in the Western Conference and in the Eastern Conference. That just shows you how good he's been. And yeah, like I said, there's no doubt I'm gonna do a career video talk about Darlington Nagbe, one of the greatest player, and definitely right up there in terms of being the top 10 greatest player to ever play in this league. Now, Orlando have announced that they're actually going to be hosting a UFL team at Inter and Co Stadium. So recently, I have heard the announcement of the UFL basically like creating a couple of new teams and kind of doing a little bit of a structure change as well. And it's also interesting to note that Columbus is actually going to be having a UFL team as well, and they're going to be playing not at Lower.com Field, but they're going to be playing at historic Crew Stadium. So it's kind of interesting to see how the MLS first ever soccer specific stadium is now in use for football, which again that kind of feels like it's a little ironic, but I guess that's kind of how it is when you have the structure. You might as well just have it. Now that being said, I don't think Orlando City fans are going to be very happy about this, because one of the things about football playing in a soccer specific stadium is that it absolutely destroyed the turf. And we see it in DC game as well. DC has had their issue when it comes to maintaining their pitch, because their UFL team, the DC Defender, also play at Audi Field. So I don't think Orlando fans are going to be very happy about this. They wish the UFL team probably should have been play at the Citrus Bowl, but I guess the reason why they can't play at the Citrus Bowl is because I've heard there's a renovation that is happening, and they could also play at the stadium that UCF currently play their football. Which again, I don't know why they didn't choose that one. I guess maybe because that's a little bit too big. A lot of these UFL team, they want to target the this amount of capacity, because in the UFL it's kind of like a second tier football league. It's a spring football league that will definitely attract fans, but it won't attract like anywhere near like NFL kind of attendance that is. But yeah, again, for Orlando fans, they'll be happy that they of course got a UFL team back, because they of course used to have a team what it was used to be called the AAF, which that league was. Yeah, it didn't go so well in terms of that league, but I'm pretty sure Orlando City fans would be not happy the fact that they have a football team kind of ruin their pitch, and do not be surprised that the pitch quality could be really bad near the end of the season, because of football being played during the spring. Now, UEFA has approved to host a La Liga game between Villarreal and Barcelona in Miami in December. Now, this has been in the works for a bit. There's been a lot of rumors about this, of course, is going to happen, and now it feels like it's one step closer to be a reality. Now, I can also understand there's a lot of backlash with this, and for those that wonder, well, why can Europeans be like us Americans? The fact that us Americans, we accept the fact that we see NFL games that's been taking place in internationally. We also see some of the other leagues like the NBA playing games internationally. Even the MLB has kind of gotten the action as well. Well, why can they accept that fact? The fact that this is no different than seeing some of these teams just playing overseas just to attract like the more attention and also gain more fandom. Well, the problem is that when it comes to the American sports culture compared to the European sports culture, it is vastly different. It is hugely different in the European sports culture. It feels like when it comes to supporting teams, there's more of a fandom, and there's more of an attachment than I would say compared to fans supporting American team. I mean, yes, there are still going to be some die-hard fans that, of course, support a lot of the team, but it's nothing compared to what we see in Europe. So the fact that this, of course, is happening, and for a long time, a lot of European fans have been against this. They didn't want this to happen, and the fact that this just feels like it's break tradition, and also just kind of once again, unfortunately, goes into what now it is the problem with modern football, with the way that it has become more of a money based kind of thing compared to the heritage and the prestige that this game has produced. Yeah, there's no doubt that that's why there's a lot of backlash that is happening. But I also wouldn't be surprised that with this happening, this also means that we could see other leagues decide to do that. I mean, we already saw La Liga does it. Serie A actually is doing the same thing as well. They're gonna also play a game in Australia as well. I'm not quite sure exactly what was the opponent for that game, but yeah, that does kind of open the door for other the big league. Don't be surprised, we might see a Premier League game that is going to be happening in the U.S. Even though that's going to release a ton of backlash as well. But yeah, that's just kind of the unfortunate problem with modern soccer. And again, as much as there is a lot of backlashes that is happening, when it comes to if this game that has happened, people are still going to go to this game. I mean, there's nobody's going to. I know some of those European fans will just say that, well, we're going to boycott of going to these games. Well, here's the thing. The whole reason why they have it in Miami and have it in the US is because this is a way for La Liga to really attract the fans. And also, we know that when you have these two teams, especially Barcelona being a global kind of team with fans all around the world, especially here in the US, that's going to definitely attract the American audience. So even though I know the local fan base will just boycott and doesn't want to do go to this game, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be sold out. It's still going to earn the revenue that La Liga is hoping for, and also gain the more of the audience and fandom in the U.S. market. And that's kind of what's the goal of this. The goal of this is not to please the local fans, but it's just to make more revenue, and also gain more audience in the global market. And say what you say about that. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the way the game is heading. Even if a lot of people, especially in the European audience and the European sport culture, that is something that a lot of European fans have been against for a very long time. And then last but not least, I want to talk about Bradley Carnell, and something interesting happened during his interview after winning the Supporter Shield. So of course, he of course answered how happy he is to win the Supporter Shield, but then the interviewer then asked him about his time with St. Louis. I don't exactly remember phrase to phrase what was the question was all about, but it was something about his time with St. Louis. And yeah, Bradley Carnell was not happy when he was asked for that. He basically immediately walked away. He didn't even answer the question whatsoever. He kind of had a Bob Bradley kind of moment there, where remember when Bob Bradley basically told one of the interviewer to get lost. And yeah, I'll tell you what, I feel like Bradley Cardell should have said the same thing. He probably should have just make fun of the interviewer. And again, I can understand why a lot of these head coaches, they don't really like the media in terms of asking these questions, because these are clearly bait question. This is kind of a thing that unfortunately it's a reality not only in MLS but especially in other leagues, where when you have press conference where a lot of the media is gonna ask these bait question, because this is a way for them to generate in terms of creating hot takes. And hot takes is basically kind of the thing nowadays. I mean, if you watch any of the sports media nowadays, whether it's sports radio or even ESPN. Nowadays, it's just kind of all about hot takes, which again, a lot of fans don't really like this, but it's just kind of how it is. And now it's kind of gone into the media when they do press conference where the media is going to try to use some of these baited questions so they can maybe paint Bradley Carnell in a bad way. But I will give credit to Bradley Carnell not only not answering this, but I feel like more coaches should do this. Where I mean, I know some might say it's not a good look, but if you are asked of a question that has nothing to do with you winning the supporter shield, and especially right after when you win the supporter shield like this, right after when you did something amazing to the current team that you have, then you ask a question about your former team. Again, I feel think Bradley Carnell. I can totally understand that then why he reacted that. And if I was him, I would have probably reacted the same thing because I just won a trophy with the team that I currently manage. Why do I need to answer a question about my former team that has nothing to do with what I've just done recently? But there you have it. That is pretty much it when it comes to the news of the week episode. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these news, and if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below as always. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys next time.